Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Raved, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Pokemon XD Gale Darkness. In the last episode, we rescued Professor Krane from the evil clutches of Cypher, an evil criminal syndicate that was operating over here in the desert. We took down Lavrina, which was one of the heads of Cypher, and in this episode, we are going to go ahead and take Professor Krane back to the Pokemon HQ lab. And you know what that means, guys? We won't have to listen to this awesome music anymore. No! Okay, you know what? I'm gonna stop with that. I understand some of you are probably half annoyed by me constantly raving about this music. But then again, you can't blame me with my username. So anyways, let's go ahead and take him. And before you guys ask, no, we can't take him anywhere such as Mount Battle or Agate. Take him out on a nice, friendly stroll or whatever. The game automatically sets us back to the HQ lab, which does make sense and is rather generous of them. But unfortunately, we do not have the ability to take him out anywhere else. Thanks to you, Sebastian, I was able to return safe and sound. Sincerely, thank you. Though it was a horrible ordeal, I learned a few things when I was in that desert lab. First and foremost, Cypher hasn't disappeared. The fact that it's still around is alarming. Worse, they're making more Shadow Pokemon again. And worst of all, they are trying to create the ultimate Shadow Pokemon, one that is impossible to purify. Cypher must be plotting world domination using Shadow Pokemon as their weapons again. Gee, we haven't heard that before in any other game ever. To counter Cypher's new Shadow Pokemon conspiracy, Lily, we did it! The Purify Chamber is finally completed! Oh my! Oh, what fantastic timing! It's finally finished! Lily, thank you! Thank you for pulling everyone together so capably in my absence! Okay, let's not waste any time. Let's all go have a look at the Purify Chamber. Let's play. I just had to. And of course, we do not go with them because we're rebels and we're cool. We get to stare at ferns all day. But then again, I feel like artificial stuff is cooler than ferns. And you know what? Speaking of that, I have to say, in Pokemon Coliseum, actually, you know what? I'll get into that later. Take a good look, Sebastian. This is the Purify Chamber, even though we've already seen it. Sebastian, your father and I designed it 5 years ago when we were motivated by the Shadow Incident. If evildoers were to create Shadow Pokemon again, we want to be able to save them ourselves. Sebastian, your father believed that passionately. To honor your father's wish, I put together our Pokemon HQ lab. Sebastian, if your father were here, I'm sure that he would be delighted. While I was gone, everybody seems to have rallied around Lily and made things happen. Okay, Sebastian, we'll have you lead the way. The glorious history of the Purify Chamber will begin with you. That's so badass and historical to say. I mean, come on, the way that Professor Krane words stuff is just so cool. He's such a cool guy. He's a pretty cool guy. But first, if you'd be so kind as to briefly explain how the Purify Chamber works. Certainly. Okay, Sebastian, listen closely. Now, I would explain this on my own, but this guy does a little bit more detail and less detail. So, even though I'm going to read over what he says, I'd actually explain on my own. The Purify Chamber is a facility in which Shadow Pokemon undergo purification through contact with regular Pokemon. We also should mention that it's artificial. Purification is conducted in what we call a set. This is where a Shadow Pokemon comes into contact with a regular Pokemon. In the center of a set, one Shadow Pokemon is placed. Up to 4 regular Pokemon can be placed around the Shadow Pokemon. We have 9 of those sets here. That means we can efficiently purify up to 9 Shadow Pokemon at the same time. There is one thing you need to be careful about. Purification won't proceed if you place only a single Shadow Pokemon on a set. Purification can only happen if there is at least 1 regular Pokemon on a set with a Shadow Pokemon. Number of regular Pokemon placed with a Shadow Pokemon and their compatibility are key points. First, the number of regular Pokemon. The more regular Pokemon you place with a Shadow Pokemon, the quicker purification is. That isn't so entirely true for reasons that I'll explain in just a minute. Next, the compatibility of a Pokemon. Compatibility depends on the types of Pokemon involved and the directions they face. By adjusting these factors, you'll likely see differences in purification speeds. If you need details, I'll be happy to explain later, but right now, I'd like you to check the sets out. The Purify Chamber status is on standby. System status is good to go. Step onto that circular plate. A holographic image of the Pokemon involved in purification will appear. Well, it would if there were actually some Pokemon in the sets. When you're checking the hologram, you can zoom into individual sets. At any selected set, you can configure things as you see fit. A control panel will appear for you to pick the Pokemon you want to place on a selected set, position them, and so on. If you bring some Pokemon, Sebastian, you can place them on sets. Don't worry, you'll figure it out when you actually try it. will also be around to provide advice if you need it. First, check the hologram, please. Alright, and they all turn to look at this thing, and... oh man, being the center of attention like this. If only it was the same in real life. Let's just go ahead and get started with our purification process. So this is the rather cool looking Purify Chamber, the completed one at that. Now, I have to say right now, if you played Pokemon Colosseum, and you know how it is to purify Pokemon there, you can still do that in this game. You can use the regular Relic Stone to purify your Pokemon if you would like to be more traditional with it. However, the Purify Chamber is a huge part of this game because not only is it vital to purifying Pokemon more efficiently, but there is a second usage for it, which I'm going to get into much later, preferably the end game, for reasons which I won't specify due to spoilers. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We have this awesome music with these cool trumpets and all these awesome musics. And yes, because music's words. How do comprehend, oh. So anyways, if you press Z, you can enter your PC and your party Pokemon. And from here on out, we can start purifying our Pokemon. So I actually want to go ahead and take out some Pokemon here. Now, even though Numel is close in a way to being purified, and same with Mareep, the thing is, our Seedot and Gulpin are even closer. In fact, they're practically identical. Identical? Yeah, identical. Got it. Okay, I was going to say something which I'm going to stop myself from saying. I've been saying I cannot speak lately. Like, the entire time that I've been recording this week. And I don't understand why I do it. It's like filler for me to try and commentate. And I'm not that bad of a commentator to have to say, oh, I can't speak clearly today. Bleh. It's a personal problem myself. But anyways, let's go ahead and continue on. So, I'm going to go ahead and purify Numel first, since he is the weakest one out of this place, and there is a good setup with the two Pokemon that we have, which I would like to put onto the sets here. So, once you have Numel, or a Shadow Pokemon on a set rather, you can see that it tells you the type of Pokemon that it is, a Fire Ground, its level, the purification process left on its heart gauge, as well as the flow. Now, flow is something we'll get into a little bit later, as in maybe like 4 seconds from now. And that'll be by placing Pokemon in. So first, I'm going to place our Poochyena right here. Now, as you can see, the tempo and flow. Tempo is how drastic it will be in terms of purifying the Pokemon. Meaning, the higher the tempo, the faster the Numel will be purified. And the flow would be how fast it goes, meaning how fast it'll take. So, overall, flow and tempo are nearly identical. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to put Lediba here. Now, as you can see, if I put Lediba here, the circle around, the circle around Numel would be white, as well as the line leading from Numel to the Pokemon we're going to place directly north from him. Now, the reason for this is because I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a little bit of a diagram right here, which is going to be on screen because it's kind of part of the game. And when I mean on screen, I mean what you're seeing right now. So, Numel is a Fire Ground type. Used in battle, a Fire move and or a Ground type move would have a ×1 effectiveness against a Dark type Pokemon. Now, Poochyena, being a Dark type, is not effective against itself. As you can see right there throughout the outer of the circle, the line is dark blue. That will tell you that a move is not very effective. Now, however, if I was to put Lediba there, as you can see, everything changes drastically. The tempo's gone up, the flow is still roughly around the same, yet the tempo has gone up, which is what we really care about the most. Now, fire against bug. That is super effective, therefore the line has now turned into a light blue color. And bug flying against bug flying would be super effective, because bug, while maybe normal against other bug Pokemon, flying against bug Pokemon would be super effective. It's a really cool process and a really complicated one at that to understand how this whole thing works, but with proper explanation from yours truly, you can go ahead and have yourself a grand old time understanding this perfectly fine. So now, like they said before, adding more Pokemon would be a more efficient way to get stuff going faster. As you can see, if we put Poochyena right there, the flow will go up by 1, and the tempo would be increased as well, even more so than with regular Ledibus. So, we place that there. Now, as you can see, half of the screen, or half of the circle, rather, is colored in with a light blue, and the other one is colored in with a regular, I'd like to say, dark turquoise, maybe robin blue? I don't know. But anyways, as you can see, bug against dark is obviously super effective. Flying against dark would be normal, however, the bug is what really counts for it. So, no matter what setup you do, you will always have bug against dark to be super effective. And dark against the bug and or flying type would just be normal. So that's how these sets work, and you know what I'm going to do right now? Even though we only have 2 Pokemon right now that we can use to start purifying Pokemon, or Shadow Pokemon rather, I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the Pokemon that I would like to be purified immediately in these sets here. So give me a minute while I go ahead and do that. Okay, there's something I'd like to point out right now, and that would be for the 9th set, I'm going to be placing Carvanha in there. However, there's a reason why I decided to take out 2 Pokemon from here. And that's because I actually want to quickly grab Carvanha and put him here because he is holding something which are black glasses. Now, black glasses are items much like charcoal, except charcoal would raise fire. This raises your dark type moves by 1 stage. This is going to be useful for Vaporeon since Vaporeon is currently not holding any items that I'm aware of. So I'm going to bring him with me. However, something is going to happen once we leave the Purify Chamber right now, and that would cause us to not be able to come back immediately. So because of that, I'm going to just keep him in our party for a minute, but I will come back here in just a second. So without further ado, this is how our Purify Chamber looks right now. There will be more Pokemon that will be placed into sets 2 to 8 and even 9 eventually once we get started. So without further ado, let's go ahead and not continue sets anymore. We have this super cool hologram which is kind of staring out into the void of cubes and polygons and technology. What a blessing and what a curse to nature. How did you find the Purify Chamber? Using this system, it's possible to purify many Shadow Pokemon at the same time. Oh, also, you can access the Purify Chamber from any PC. Be sure to try that feature. The thing is though, with the Purify Chamber on the PC, they do not explain it here, you cannot necessarily manage your boxes to the point where you can start ordering around different Pokemon and take them out themselves. You have to come back here. Or rather, no, what am I talking about? You can only purify your Pokemon here at the Purify Chamber. You cannot necessarily purify them from a PC. So that's one thing I did not mention right now. Now, the issue is how Shadow Pokemon should be recovered from Cypher. It looks as if you'll have to get busy some more with the snag machine, Sebastian, as if we weren't already. And now, we're gonna have a classic moment in every single video game that's made by Nintendo, or at least the majority of them. You're like, okay, we have nothing more to do, let's leave, and interruption. Not as subtle and as fast as other ones, but it's still an interruption nonetheless. Oh, speaking of Cypher, Lily, have you made any progress with that data ROM that we brought back from Cypher's lab? Oh yes, I've asked Dadan to analyze the content of that data ROM. Get it? Dadan? Data? It should be ready soon. Sebastian, could you go upstairs and ask Dadan how he's doing? Dadan is the man in the room next to the director's office, remember? He was compiling the basic data. Yeah, I'm saying data now, so I say basic. Big Brother's tired, so Jovi will go. Oh, Jovi, it's okay. This is for work. And she goes nonetheless. Wow, talk about the whole family being rebellious. Jovi's rebellious because she gets to go off to Dr. Kaminko's manor and hang out with Trobin. And we get to go on a huge adventure and say no to our own mother in the beginning of the game. Seeing Jovi and her boundless energy makes me realize I'm back home. Anyway, I wonder what's on that data ROM. Oh, Jovi, there's no stopping you. Isn't that the truth? Please, Sebastian, go ask Dadan how he's doing in his office upstairs. So we're gonna go ahead and do just that. And I want to say right now, remember how I said this whole game is filled with such horrible, stupid name choices? This is one of the names, like, okay, Professor Krane, that's a freaking awesome name. I mean, Krane is just badass, even though it does sound like the machine used to lift heavy stuff in a construction site, just with a K instead of a C. But still, some names are nice in this game, and some names are stupid, and others, you're just freaking brilliant, man. Data on compiling data, it's so subtle, yet simple. Anyways, you enter here. We don't notice that Dadan is gone, but rather, he has a boxy computer. I mean, I understand that this game was made in 2005, and technology wasn't necessarily at its key point, and we didn't have the super cool looking slim computers that we have now. But I mean, come on, that thing looks like an Apple II. They could have at least had the decency to make it look more modern. And yeah, I understand, this did come out like a decade ago almost. I mean, yeah, seriously, it's been almost a decade since this game came out. Crazy, right? Jovi, where is he? Oh? Isn't Dadan the man who's always fooling around with his computer there? Yeah, his Apple II computer. This is strange. Jovi wonders where he went. Now, I want to say right now, for those of you who have played through this the first time, you would experience the same pain that I did, because when I played through this game when I was like 7 years old for the first time, I had no idea where he is. I literally spent maybe like an hour or so looking for him, and it wasn't until later years until I realized that you actually have to go outside of the lab. And it does make sense. And even once you're out of the lab, you may realize you may look, oh, where is he? He's nowhere to be found here. They make you look for him over here to the right. And you're welcome, anybody who's struggling to find Daddon at all, even though this is a very small campus, and I'm pretty sure he wouldn't go out to Mount Battle, because, you know, he needs a Daddle. I really said Daddle. He needs a battle with his Pokemon, and he doesn't really have any. Let's go ahead and talk to him. Ah, I'm sorry, Professor. I couldn't decipher it. Huh? Oh, it's you, Sebastian. You scared me half to death. I'm smaller than you are. Professor Krane's the same height as you, and plus, our uniforms are entirely different. That data room is heavily protected like a bank vault. It would take a seriously talented guy to break through and get at the contents. A seriously talented guy, you say? And in comes Professor Krane himself. He just looks so cool with his, like, cape. Yeah, his cape. His lab coats just being all cool and stuff. Ah, Professor, I'm terribly sorry. It can't be helped. And if it's a seriously talented guy we need, well, I think I may have a solution. Who would that person be? Sebastian, I'm sorry to spring this on you, but can you deliver the data ROM to ONBS in Pyrite Town? Daddon, hand the data ROM to Sebastian, please. God, the names are so good in this game. And so stupid. This is why I love commentating over this game. ONBS is known as a TV network, but they're much more than that. The people that later founded ONBS were actually instrumental in breaking Cypher's conspiracy 5 years ago. This is a direct reference to the Kids Grid in Pokemon Coliseum. And, much like the Kids Grid, please deliver the data ROM to Net at ONBS. He's the right-hand man to Sec, ONBS's leader. Now, the thing is, this game is a little bit reversed for them. As you remember, if you played Pokemon Coliseum, Sec and Net were both people who run the Kids Grid back in Pokemon Coliseum. However, Net was the leader of Pokemon Coliseum for the Kids Grid, and here Sec is the leader now. So I find that pretty cool how they do this, and it's just so perfect. This game is a masterpiece of a sequel. I mean, the areas are still the same with slight changes because it's been 5 years. Kids have grown up. It's a perfect sequel in every way, shape, and form, and I just adore it more than half to death. I'm confident that he will be able to get the concept of the data ROM. Pyrite is past Agate. It's quite far, so be careful when you're traveling out that way. Alright, so now that we have our mission, I say we end things off here. So next time on Let's Play Pokemon Coliseum... Damn it! Next time on Let's Play Pokemon XD Gale Darkness, I can never get that right. We are going to go to Pyrite and deliver the data ROM to Sec and ONBS. And might I say, I am extremely excited for that because I just love the facility there. Trust me guys, Pyrite is much better than it was 5 years ago. Thank you all for watching and I'll see you guys next time.